Hey guys, Comic Boom here to give you my list for the top 25 DC titles for 2023. I already did my list of the my most disappointing DC titles of 2023. But the fact of the matter is that I was actually very satisfied this year with DC Comics. The majority, I didn't put an exact number on it. Although I can tell you that it was a strong 60 to 60, probably a strong 60 to 65% of the titles I read overall, I generally I thought were at a minimum mediocre, with probably a strong 30% were good to very good. And there are some that were just absolutely exceptional. So overall, I thought this was a better year for DC. This dawn of the DCU has a lot of promise. There was some notable disappointments, and I did a video on that, but I want to focus on the real positive now, the top 25 DC titles of 2023. Now, they are behind me here in various, they're behind me here that you can check out as I'm bobbing up and down. And I like them for different reasons, and I'm be very curious. I love at the end of, I love December every year. I love looking at fellow comic collectors on YouTube. I love looking at their top 10 lists or 20 or whatever month that they're doing. I increased mine to 25 this year, not because I wanted to have a longer video, because we all know that the algorithm loves shorter videos. But number one, I don't even monetize half my videos. I just don't care. The fact is that there was a lot of good DC titles, and some of the criteria I want to tell you that I had for actually coming up with a lot of this stuff. Jason and I, when we review DC titles every week, we actually have a pick of the week, and I can't ignore some titles that were consistently picks of the week when Jason and I would review them, or at the very least would be competing for pick of the week. And some of them were just that good. And it's amazing how many titles you forget. How many titles I forgot came out in 2023, that, because you say to yourself, especially around the day, last December, November, December 2022, did they end, did they start in 2023, etc., etc. These are all titles that, unless one of you corrects me, all of these titles began in 2023 or ended in 2023 in some way, shape, or form. And so I just want to get right to it. And so coming in at number 25 is Power Girl. Now, I got to tell you, when Lee Williams first came on the scene and she introduced and she gave her interpretation of Power Girl, with Power Girl having a telepath and a roommate, a telepathic roommate named Omen, I thought that was just a disaster. I really didn't like that. Fortunately, Power Girl, the telepathy's gone, and Omen isn't. Even Omen is growing on me a little bit, but at least what I like about Lee Williams' Power Girl series, with fantastic art by Pensica, amazing art, is that it really is Power Girl focused, and I like that it's focusing on the symbiote ship. And as of issue 4, the symbiote ship it's the essence of the symbiote ship that brought Power Girl to Earth on Earth 2 in her original origin, which I like to see being embraced by Lee Williams. I like that the symbiote ship is now hidden and embodied in Helix and the Fortress of Solitude, Superman's Fortress of Solitude. I really like that, and I'm really curious to see how Lee Williams is going to continue to build upon Paige's origin. Wasn't big on the name change. I prefer Karen Page, but now whatever, or Karen Starr. I like Karen Starr, but now it's like Page, but that's fine. Not a big deal, unnecessary, but it was still a decent series, and it made my top 25. And again, frankly, from the 15 to the 25, it was hard for me to sort of differentiate and do the placements, but I racked my brains enough, and this comes in at number 25. 24, Poison Ivy. What can I say? J. Willow Wilson, Jason and I talked about this often, particularly when the series began, just how I prefer Poison Ivy that's more evil. This at first I wasn't sure what J. Willow Wilson was doing with this series. Is she evil? Is she not? It was a little wishy-washy when it came out, in terms of the I thought that the plotting was a little bit off at first, because I wasn't sure exactly what J. Willow Wilson was what kind of picture she was trying to paint for Pamela Isley. But it became clear that she wants to make Poison Ivy a good girl. Like she's a nice person who's just wants to basically live alone with her plants and, I guess help people. And I still prefer the evil version. There's a reason why the psychotic Harley Quinn and this truly psychotic Poison Ivy are attracted to each other. Same reason Harley Quinn was attracted to Joker. They're all psychotic. But that's my interpretation. I can rant about that. But suffice to say, J. Willow Wilson made this actually, it's an interesting series, particularly with Poison Ivy herself becoming the harbinger of these Lamia spores that potentially could destroy the Earth and, basically become viral and kill all the people on the planet. Her battle against that, her battle of becoming the story evolving into more interesting characters, her relationship with Ivy, which finally came around because Ivy wasn't in the comic book for the longest time. Even Janet from HR, which is a crazy character, which I started off I didn't really like, but she's kind of grown on me. Janet from HR sleeping with both Harley and Ivy. I mean, how many women wouldn't kill for that? How many guys wouldn't kill for that? There are funny moments in this series, and the plotting it did drag on 17 issues in, and we're still dealing with Lamia spores in some way, shape, or form. That's a little off, but there's some interesting villains that were introduced, and nice to see Killer Croc there in a couple of those issues. So yeah, overall, number 24, I thought that J. Willow Wilson had a decent year with her. 23, Tom King's Danger Street. Now, full disclosure, this probably could have been higher on my list, but Tom King, quite frankly, he's got a couple that are in much higher on this list. But Danger Street was something that I think it flew under the radar for a lot of collectors, and I know that even a lot of collectors who, frankly, maybe aren't the biggest Tom King fans, I think that, dare I say that they probably would enjoy this. Because the sort of the stereotypical criticism of Tom King is that if you really like a particular character and Tom King is writing it, you won't like what Tom King will do to that character because he generally will tend to deconstruct or darken or add some darker elements to that character, and God forbid maybe even kill them off or do something traumatic to them. The fact is, Danger Street is a wonderful story. It deals with characters that probably nobody really loves, quite frankly, because it's from the 1970s. And frankly, he plays with them a bit, but this does have a happy ending all around, quite frankly. And if you like a Tom King story that is a mystery in terms of how these eclectic, incredibly diverse group of 1970s characters that were essentially rejected by DC and following the DC implosion, and you want to see how Tom King can weave a mystery and a tale and an interesting superhero adventure and give happy endings all around, pick up Danger Street. It is something that you could really enjoy. Seriously, and the covers here, all the cover A's and even some of the cover Bs are really great. So this was a really good series. It's self-contained. Trust me, guys, you can pick this up as a trade and pick it up. I believe that most of you would likely enjoy it. And especially if someone who's never read a comic book before, they'll have no problem picking up on this. It's not that difficult to get into. Coming in at number 22 is Static, Shadows of Dakota. Jason and I, in our reviews of the Milestone universe, were generally impressed with the Milestone universe. We were always entertained. Now, I did put Icon versus Rocket as one of my most disappointing titles, but disappointing in kind of a cool way. I was expecting a little bit more, but it still had its cool moments, even though it kind of disappointing on me. It was disappointed. Static, Shadows of Dakota. I got to tell you, Nicholas Draper Ivy on art. His art was generally fantastic, especially in the earlier issues. He's not afraid to experiment artistically. And Vida Ayala, they, got to get the pronoun right, they did a really good job on the writing. Nicholas Draper Ivy also did some of the writing. It was a collaboration. And just what Static goes through, in particular, what I thought was heartfelt was the themes of loss, tragedy, heroism, use of lethal force, and the way Static steps up to the plate and really comes into his own in a way that often you more commonly associate with Superman in terms of encouraging people not to use lethal force. And even when it comes to great personal temptation to use that force, when somebody that you truly love dies, the death of a young character in this series called Quincy, man, that just tugged at my heartstrings, man. And it was so well done. The emotions were so well played, and I thought it ended on a high note with the promise of better things to come, or if, as long as they're equal to this, I'll be happy. But this was a particularly satisfying series. Coming in at number 21, Swamp Thing Green Hell. Now, I thought that this had come in at in the year 2022, but it actually ended. It was delayed, and the final issue came out in 2023. So I feel compelled to put it on the list. Jeff Lemire, I mean, what can I say? I mean, the guy's written so much. He's a fantastic writer, and his interpretation of Swamp Thing with Constantine in sort of a dystopian future, but with Swamp Thing being called back from his happiness with his with his wife and daughter to come back to essentially save humanity. Doug Mankey on the art. I love Doug Mankey's art. It's fantastic. Doug Mankey right now is collaborating with Jason Aaron on Batman Offworld. So that, you know, I got to tell you, 2024 is going to be come off with a bang. Incredible. David Byrne on colors. This was a really great series. If you're a Swamp Thing fan, if you're a John Constantine fan, heck, if you're an Animal Man fan, Animal Girl fan, if you're a fan of the green or the red or both, if you're of the rot of the green, pick up this series. It's Black Label. It's self-contained. You don't need to know anything else. And again, you'll really enjoy this. It's a visual feast as well. Coming in at number 20, Justice Society of America. It's possible that maybe this could have been higher up on the list, but frankly, there's so many delays on this title, I frankly had to punish it a little bit. I love Jeff Johns, and we're going to be getting hopefully a lot more Jeff Johns with his new comic book publishing company, Ghostline or whatever it's going to be, with Geiger, and just we're going to get all kinds of Jeff Johns goodness in 2024 by the looks of things, which is great. Justice Society of America, the first 6 issues, really, I thought it was very decompressed, and I thought I love seeing Per Degaton again, but it was a very conveniently wrapped up plot line. I thought it was disappointing, quite frankly. It was nice to see Huntress from Batman and Selina Kyle's daughter from the future coming back and being in present day continuity. That's kind of cool, but getting there was kind of slow, and it could have been more exciting than it was. But I tell you, the art was really, truly, the art was fantastic. And Santucci on the art, Plasencia on the colors. This was definitely a really great series. I love the cover here of issue 6. And the reason why I use this, it reminded me of that classic All-Star Squadron #1 cover that I loved back in the day. I still love my All-Star Squadron collection, despite the fact that I read the hell out of it so much that the earlier issues, I don't think any of them are higher than maybe a 4.0 grade point. But who cares, man? Sometimes comic books, they're just meant to be read. That's just the way it is. But carrying on, coming in at number 19, Green Lantern. Now, Jeremy Adams, this might shock some of you. Why is Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern not higher on the list? You know what? It could be. It really could be. The fact of the matter is that I was privileged enough. I was so lucky enough this year to meet Jeremy Adams in person. My buddy Trevor Lankiewicz, who's got a fantastic series of Kickstarters, Area 51. The Helix Project, and oh God, he's gonna kick my ass if I can't remember the other. Minutes to Midnight, another Kickstarter series he's got coming out, and he's got another one called another series. I'll put it in the link below. I promise, Trevor. But in any event, Trevor and I both met Jeremy Adams. We actually had steak and wine with him. We went out for some steak in Calgary, Alberta, at the Calgary Comic Con, and he's just a fantastic guy. He is as joyful. Jeremy Adams is as joyful and as happy as he makes his characters in his comic books. And when he came off Flash this year, I mean, that was a tragedy that they removed him off the Flash, but fortunately when he came off the Flash, he came back with Green Lantern, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and Jay Garrick the Flash. And it's really great to see that that this, he brings that same type of humanity and fun and adrenaline rush to Green Lantern. With Green Lantern being sort of having to find a new kind of ring from a manhunter, sort of banished to Earth because the United Planets has sort of sectioned off, or they've quarantined Section 2814 of our universe, so there's not allowed to be any Green Lanterns here, apparently, or some damn thing. Not really sure exactly where that plot point's going, but it's cool. Meanwhile, Sinestro here is on Earth. There's a battle between Sinestro and Hal. Hal's relationship with Carol Ferris, it was awesome. Heck, even some of the most even Night Terrors, the Night Terror crossover. Thank you, Jeremy Adams. He had Hal Jordan make quick work of Insomnia and Insomnia's forces and the Silent Knights, because Hal Jordan, you're not gonna be able to give Hal Jordan nightmares, man. This guy's made of willpower. He made his own ring with his willpower. So in any event, great series. Definitely check it out. Coming in number 18, Alan Scott Green Lantern. Now, I'm premising this off the first 2 issues, because I thought this was actually very cleverly done. I like the job that Tim Sheridan has actually done in the first 2 issues, given the fact of what he has to work with. The reality is that incorporating, when it comes to the very, very sensitive topic of sexuality in comic books, the sexuality of Alan Scott coming, his origins premised in the, grounded in the 1940s, it's one of those things, it's impossible to ignore because of the way sexuality and homosexuality was looked at back in the 1940s. If you're going to incorporate that in a character like Alan Scott Green Lantern, you got to do it very carefully, and my concern was the story going to be good? I think the story is excellent. The first 2 issues, Tim Sheridan isn't pulling any punches. He's making Alan Scott as a young man. He was sexually active. He was struggling with his sexuality, and his sexuality actually plays a key role in the relationships that he has because of his sexuality, are playing a key role in his origin. I've read up till issue 3, and I can tell you that it continues to play an important role in his origin. And I think it's done in a very it's done in a very Black Label kind of way. I think it's not going to be for everybody. But I want to give Tim Sheridan some kudos here, because I actually think this is a well-written story. And also because I don't care about Alan Scott's sexuality. I know some people do. Believe me, I understand the sensitivity. I'm sensitive about other characters, just not this one. So maybe that's why it doesn't bother me so much with this, because I think Tim Sheridan's written a pretty good story. All right, number 17, Batman Beyond the White Knight, Sean Gordon Murphy. This is another series that I wanted to give, Sean, there's been more than one series here in 2023. We got Batman Beyond the White Knight, which finished up. And we also had Generation Joker, where the son and daughter of Harley Quinn and the Joker play a role. And both those series, the way they continue, the way that the Murphyverse is being developed by Sean Gordon Murphy, I think he's been doing a really good job. It has its own continuity. It's not impossible or difficult to get into. I'm really enjoying it. I think that a really good job is being done, and I would encourage many people to check it out. Okay, and yeah, and of course the art was pretty good. It's not all. Sean Gordon Murphy doesn't do. In fact, I don't know if he does. Simon DeMaio does some of the art, and I gotta say that fortunately, while I might not be a huge fan of Simon DeMaio on this series, I like the story enough that I stuck with it, and I've stuck with it through Generation Joker. And in 2024 and beyond, we're going to be seeing Superman of the Murphyverse. We've already been introduced to Diana, Wonder Woman of the Murphyverse, John Stewart, the Green Lantern of the Murphyverse, in different ways. They play very different roles, and I like the creativity that Sean Murphy is bringing to that. All right, coming in at number 16, Superman Lost. Christopher Priest here had 2 series. He wrapped up his Black Adam series in 2023, which I actually quite enjoyed, for the most part, what he did with Black Adam. I thought that, but I thought that Black Adam, it ended in a very interesting place, but it's unfortunately been ignored by DC. But I'm not going to harp on Black Adam, other than to say I thought that Christopher Priest did had a very interesting take and a more in-depth take on Black Adam, and made him more interesting, quite frankly, than even Shazam. But I want to talk about Superman Lost. what Christopher Priest does here with Superman Lost, and right now we're up till issue 10. We're up to issue 9 as of the day that I'm doing this, in the end of December 27th. And I got to tell you that the idea that Superman is, after a Justice League adventure, is gone for 20 years. He loses, he ends up in a different universe. He can't find his way back home, and he's, in his mind, Superman is gone from Earth for 20 years. But to Lois, when Superman finally reappears, only a few hours have passed. And Superman psychologically is dealing with the sort of the equivalent of the PTSD effect of being away for 20 years and having a completely different life on another planet that he sort of thinks of as Kansas almost. And he has a whole different set of adventures on this other planet, and a whole different set of people that he meets, and in particular a character called Hope, who's a Green Lantern, who's not even aware of the existence of the Green Lantern Corps, and a planet that rejects him, and then he finally leaves that planet, he makes it back to Earth, and how and Superman, it's affecting the way that he conducts himself. It's impairing his ability to help people as effectively as he normally does. And Lois Lane wants her Superman back. She wants her Clark back. She wants him back psychologically, and the lengths that she goes to, including imploring the help of Lex Luthor, is a very interesting way, the way Christopher Priest has paced and evolved this story, and in a way that this is probably one of the most refreshing and interesting takes on Superman in years. Very well done. Kudos to him, and I can't wait to see if Christopher Priest nails the landing next month in January. Coming in at number 15, Kelly Thompson. What can I say? Kelly Thompson, I love her on Birds of Prey. Kelly Thompson Kelly Thompson and Chip Zdarsky, who are both now at DC. I stopped collecting Marvel about 2 years ago, and the last two titles, my last two holdouts were Daredevil and Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel, of course, I left Captain Marvel just a little bit before Kelly Thompson's run ended. I just got tired of the character. It wasn't because of the writing, quite frankly. And same thing with Daredevil. I punished Marvel not because of Chip Zdarsky. I punished Marvel because they canceled Daredevil to go into Devil's Reign, and I said, no, you did that, I'm out. So I don't know how Devil's Reign ended, nor do I care. I don't review Marvel anymore, and I don't really read much of it either. And so I'm all DC, and thank God 2023 was pretty decent. Birds of Prey, Kelly Thompson, the way her eclectic group here with Big Barda, Zealot, Black Canary, Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a wild card. Cassandra Cain. I love Cassandra Cain. Wasn't a big fan to see Harley Quinn on this, but guess what? That was all in the first issue, and goddamn if Kelly Thompson doesn't make this very interesting tale. Of all things, they got to invade. They got to essentially sneak onto Paradise Island to rescue Sin, who is Black Canary's essentially stepsister. I always thought it was a stepdaughter, but I guess not. But in any event, an interesting art by Romero here, and muted colors, a different approach to colors that Jody Belair takes in this series, but it's very well done, and I like it. It has almost like a Jack Kirby kind of feel to it, and very bombastic in its fight scenes and choreography. I'm enjoying this series. I'm enjoying it, and Kelly Thompson, in interviews, she has stated that the makeup of the team is gonna rotate a little bit. Zealot's not going to be on there forever. Neither is Harley, etc., etc. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the makeup of the team is moving forward. At some point, Kelly Thompson has promised that Barbara Gordon is going to be joining the Birds of Prey, or at least in some capacity, in 2024, guys. So anybody out there that was maybe not checking into Birds of Prey because you were disappointed that Barbara Gordon wasn't on the team, don't worry. In 2024, you might want to keep an eye on this series. Okay, all right. So coming in at number 14, Superman. Look, I've been very harsh on Joshua Williamson, but I gotta be out blunt here. The guy kind of deserves my harshness most of the time. But Superman, he's written some of the best Superman. His 9 issues of Superman so far in 2023. This was really good. I thought initially the idea of Supercore was kind of corny, but god damn if he doesn't. Williamson actually makes this work. I'm actually interested in this series. The fact that Lex Luthor is trying to help Superman, the fact that somebody is trying to kill Lex Luthor, get revenge on Lex Luthor, and essentially use Superman's old enemies and Luthor's old enemies to do that. Sort of a new origin for Lex Luthor. Apparently Lex Luthor was a superhero, or sort of an unknown superhero working behind the scenes before Superman even arrived on the scene in Metropolis. That's interesting. Perry White's running for mayor. Very interesting. Jimmy Olsen's girlfriend is Silver Banshee. I mean, oh my God. Or is it Livewire? Is it Livewire? Anyways, why do I always mix up Silver Banshee and Livewire? I think it's because I visually always I think of the same thing. It's the same character. Anyways, it's a fun series. It's really fun, and it's generally self-contained. And hey, I got to mention Marilyn Moonlight. The origin of Marilyn Moonlight's coming up. Superman's now in the Wild West at the end of issue 9 with Marilyn Moonlight. Looking forward to that. So, god damn, guys. If you're not reading Superman, you're missing out. Kudos to Williamson and Redondo on the art and Adriana Lucas on the colors. Boom. It's a good series to check out. All right, coming in at number 13 is Batman Superman World's Finest by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. And Tamara Bonvillain on the colors. Look, Mark Waid just understands Superman and Batman. I mean, I don't think anyone understands or can write these characters better than Mark Waid, quite frankly. Although I just finished talking about Joshua Williamson, right? So here, it's like Joshua Williamson, hey, hold my beer, right? Everybody, I think, is chomping at the bit, waiting for the time that Mark Waid gets on Superman finally, because Mark Waid has never actually written Superman before. He's done Superman Birthright. He's always written stories with Superman, like World's Finest. But guess what? He's never written Superman, the main series. So at some point that's going to happen. But in the meantime, we'll enjoy Williamson. But World's Finest is just great. We're getting we do indeed get the secret origin of the World's Finest team. We've gotten, lately we've gotten even Kingdom Come, sort of the first introduction of, we get sort of like the early days of the Kingdom Come characters with David and the early origins of Magog, when he was Thunder Boy, first on Earth Prime and then on Earth 22, which is the Kingdom Come universe. The way Mark Waid seems to tell these stories, which on the surface I can make them sound so complex, he makes them simple, easy to follow, easy to get into. These were really good reads, and I'm still wondering to see how this Kingdom Come crossover storyline is going to end. I'm loving it. This was a great year for World's Finest, no question. Incidentally, I do not have anywhere on my top 25 do I have Shazam, which should get honorable mention, and World's Finest Teen Titans, which also I would give honorable mention, but I just, for different reasons, which I don't have time to go into, it just didn't quite suit my fancy. I like World's Finest. Shazam is okay. It was good, but not great, because I look at the comic books that I really remember, and that really that I really thought about and I enjoy the most. And as good as Shazam and World's Finest Teen Titans are, particularly maybe Teen Titans in sort of giving us character origins and Mark Waid showing off how well he knows these characters and how they developed given their relationships with their mentors, I thought was very well done, with Donna Troy with Wonder Woman, Roy Harper particularly with Oliver Queen, and young Robin, Dick Grayson's relationship with Batman, very well played out with those series. So kudos to Mark Waid for all those series, but you're only getting World's Finest on this list. All right. Coming in at number 12, Green Lantern War Journal. Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Montos, Adriana Lucas on the colors. You know, the Revenant Queen. You know, coming out of the Green Lantern series written by Geoffrey Thorne, which was Geoffrey Thorne did he added so much complexity to John Stewart Green Lantern, and his story was, unfortunately, he tried to do so much. At times it did feel a little bit convoluted and the art got a little bit wonky, and the different storylines in Geoffrey Thorne runs was a little bit, at times it may have felt a little bit impenetrable unless you were a diehard fan or knew a lot about Green Lantern Mosaic, which was a 1990s series starring John Stewart. But in any event, PKJ here has a way of really bringing John Stewart home, focusing on the fact that while he has a military background, this is a John Stewart that sort of just wants to take care of his grandmother, but at the same time, there's a John Stewart in another universe that is that defeated the Revenant Queen, and the Revenant Queen essentially ends up destroying a large part of the Green Lantern Corps in another universe, ends up escaping into our universe with goals of taking over all the heroes, destroying our universe. And the only one that certain remnants of the Green Lantern Corps from the other universe think can actually help them defeat the Revenant Queen is John Stewart. But this John Stewart is not necessarily as experienced as the John Stewart from the other universe. So that's part of the hero's journey that Philip Kennedy Johnson has John Stewart on. And as it turns out, spoiler alert, John Stewart knows how to kick some ass, and he knows how to be a hero, and that is becoming more and more obvious as the series progresses. This is a really interesting series. It has a horror element feel to it, thanks to Montos's fantastic art. Adriana Lucas on the colors, pop off the page. Great series. And you'll note that I put this Green Lantern War Journal ahead of Alan Scott Green Lantern and Jeremy Adams Green Lantern, just because I'm enjoying it that much more. It's just a little bit different. I like it. And again, they're all fantastic. I mean, who doesn't love Green Lanterns of any stripe, right? So as much as I'm loving all the Green Lanterns, kudos to Philip Kennedy Johnson. You're the highest Green Lantern on the list at number 12. All right, coming in at number 11. Penguin. Tom King's Penguin here. This is the most interesting I've ever found the Penguin in the history of the character. Again, the issue 1 was fantastic. Was just plain absolutely fantastic, and I love that he's adding a complexity to Penguin. So Penguin is more than just sort of like this. We always knew that Penguin obviously must be intelligent, and he must be Scarface at some level. He has to have some level of intellect that somehow allows him to, escape Batman and to somehow control Gotham, the underworld, and to have all the power and the leverage that the Penguin has. It's odd. It's just interesting how many times he is, for the most part, portrayed like an absolute total bumbling idiot. Tom King is finally giving him some respect. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't past Penguin stories that are really good. There are some really good ones. There are. But most of them, 90% of them, aren't as good as the first 5 issues of Tom King's Penguin. Penguin is returning to Gotham after leaving Gotham in the hands of his so-called children, who are basically making a mess of it. And he's coming back in spades, and he's putting a team together. And he's putting the team together consisting of the Help, the various members of the 4th of July, a couple of other members, which you got to read the series to get into. This is really good. De La Torre's art's fantastic. Malo's colors are great. This has the mood and ambiance of a mafioso kind of story, and you really get the terror of and the feel that Penguin Oswald Cobblepot is not someone to be messed with. And this is something. It's like Batman said in the final panel of issue 1 of this series, as the Batmobile is sinking under the waves, he says, "Penguin, how did you do this?" In other words, so the mystery is, how the hell did the Batman and Penguin end up trapped in a Batmobile that's sinking in Gotham Harbor? How did you do this? Because even Batman's like, Batman's thinking to himself, I'm sure, you're an idiot. How the hell did you pull this shit off? That's why I love this series. It's just awesome. And so far, so good. All right, now for the top 10. Coming in at number 10. Let's have a little bit of a roll. There we go. Coming in at number 10. Stargirl, The Lost Children. One of the things that 2023 will be noted for in future years about this present generation of DC characters is just how many new characters were introduced into the DC universe in 2023, and a large part of that, they arrived through Jeff Johns' Stargirl, The Lost Children, with fantastic art by Jeremy Nock and colors by Herms. Fantastic. So many new characters. The idea that so many of these children from World War II, they were the children of various members of the JSA, but they were lost in time. And so You know, one of the struggles that Marvel and DC have had is introducing new characters. And we all know the comic book culture where that erupts over if you do that wrong, if you do the legacy characters wrong and you confuse diversity with legacy and all this other jazz, and you end up with a lot of people making money on YouTube videos spouting opinions on it. And while that's cool, the fact of the matter is DC at least did it very intelligently in 2023, and that is they got Jeff Johns at the helm. And Jeff Johns said, you know what? Why don't we just say all these children, they've always existed, but we didn't know they existed. And now they're finally being remembered, and they're the lost children. And that's really what this premise is. It's Stargirl and Miko going back, ending up on this island where all these lost children ended up being stranded because of the machinations of the child finder and other nefarious forces. And for them for us to get introduced to these new characters, which will be utilized moving forward, is pretty cool to see. And also, we should mention that there's many other characters that Jeremy Adams introduced in his Flash run, for example, offspring of Mr. Terrific, for example. And there's other characters in so many titles of the DC universe. We're getting these other characters. We even get Red Canary, terrible origin, worst origin of 2023, but we get Red Canary as well, from flowing out of Dark Crisis. There's so many of these characters, and of course in Superman we got the twins, Ortho and Ossel, and you know, everyone's getting a family, right? Green Arrow even has a family. Who knew that irresponsible bastard has a family? In any event, let's move on. Coming in at number 9, Peacemaker tries hard. I just tweeted Kyle Starks. He was wishing people a happy holidays on Twitter and or X, and I was compelled to just say, you know, great series. Peacemaker tries hard, and I told him, it's one of my favorite of the year. This absolutely caught me by surprise. I love HBO's Peacemaker series. I hated the character Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad movie because he was very much a bad guy to me. But the fact that James Gunn in the HBO series could make me actually really enjoy and love and have sympathy for Peacemaker, who's a complete asshole, is something. And then how Kyle Starks took that Peacemaker character, and this felt like right out of that series, and he captures the humor, the dialogue in such a duplicative way. It was wow. This was really impressive, and yeah. Guys, if you can pick this up in trade form, pick up Peacemaker Tries Hard. It's easy to read. It's funnier than hell, and it's it should be Black Label. It is Black Label. Yeah, so check it out. It'd be well worth your time. Make a great gift for somebody who likes superhero movies, and you want to get him into comics. Throw this at him. Number 8, Tom King's The Human Target. I had to put this on the list again. This was, I think, this was my top 2. I think number 2 or number 1 of 2022. This is a great series. It ended in 2023. I think because it was delayed in 2022, but it ended in 2023. This is just one of my favorite Tom King stories. And not only is the story great, but the story is heightened by the amazing art of Greg Smallwood. And the use of fire and ice as two femme fatales who ultimately were attempting to orchestrate the death of Lex Luthor, failing to do so, but then ultimately perhaps succeeding at the end, while the human target, Christopher Chance, is sort of caught in the middle, and he's an investigator, and the journey of the 12 issues that you go on are the 12 days that Christopher Chance has left to live, because he takes the poison and gets shot with the poison that's supposed to kill Lex Luthor. And even though ultimately the femme fatales are revealed to play a role in Lex Luthor's the attempted assassination of Lex Luthor and Christopher Chance is dying, the fact that he falls in love with one of the femme fatales is at the heart of this story, and it's absolutely brilliant. It plays out like a 1960s James Bond story. Absolutely fantastic. I wish, if I could say one thing for DC stupidly has collected this in 2 hardcovers, broken up in 6 issues each. I refuse to buy it. It's one story. It's 12 issues long. Wait till DC has it in 12 issues long. Refuse to buy it issue to issue. Refuse to buy the back issues. Refuse to buy the hardcover. Don't. It's one story, 12 issues, all in one hardcover. That's what we deserve, DC. We deserve this in hardcover form. It's that good. Give it to us. All right, coming in at number 7, Jeremy Adams, The Flash. I mean, I had to put him. I mean, Jeremy Adams, The Flash. He was taken off The Flash abruptly for reasons which I think there's obviously some shenanigans going on at DC for whatever reason, and some editor really wanted Cy Spurrier to baffle us with his interpretation of The Flash, and that's exactly what Cy Spurrier has done. But removing Jeremy Adams off Flash was probably one of the dumbest things that DC has done in probably the last 10 years. But they did it. But at least they knew enough to put him back on Jay Garrick, The Flash, which is really good, in Green Lantern, which was already on my list. And Green Lantern being on my list at, I think it was on my list. Green Lantern was on my list at number 19. But in any event, you know, the 1 Minute War, an inspired idea by Jeremy Adams. I think that it would have been nice if he would have got, in my opinion, better artists to render the 1 Minute War. I think that a lot of potential of that series was lost. That could have been, a lot of the story could have been told and enhanced artistically because of the whole concept that a war takes place in 60 seconds. How cool would that look? It could have been better, but the fact is that it was still fun. It was still interesting. It was still grounded in family. It was still grounded in the Flash family, in the relationship between Barry and Iris, and there's a proposal involved, and to have Wallace West, Wally West, Barry Allen, Impulse, Jessica, all the crew, and of course the faction, the new enemies, which we will see in the future as well. Very interesting new set of villains and intergalactic powerful beings that sort of work through the Speed Force. Again, just great concept, very well done. Coming in at number 6, another series that ended in 2023 was Dark Knights of Steel by Tom Taylor. I love this series. I enjoyed it. You know, one thing about Tom Taylor is that he's really good at character moments, and in his you'll note that his Nightwing and his Titans are not on my top 25 because they're both boring. They're just boring. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. They were not good enough this year. They're boring. They're not bad. They're just boring. Now, one could argue that when you're writing a superhero comic, if it's boring, that's bad. Well. But it was boring. But Tom Taylor is really good at writing plots when he wants to be. He just doesn't seem to really want to be exciting with his plots with Titans. Who thought the new Justice League Titans could be so boring? Tom Taylor said, "Hold my beer." But in any event, Nightwing also boring. But Dark Knights of Steel, there was a lot of action. It was action packed, and in 12 issues. We got enough of a plot that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the series. I thought it wrapped up a little bit too conveniently. I was hoping for more betrayals. I wish some of the betrayals would have stuck and were not undone. I wish a lot of it was. I was hoping that a lot of it would not be misdirection, but it was. So all the people you think are good really are good. There's nothing new here. I really wanted there to be a betrayal. I wanted this to be another evil Superman thing. Tom Taylor wrote Injustice. He understands how important subverting expectations are and going with it, but it wrapped up a little bit too neatly, quite frankly. But nonetheless, it was still entertaining enough, and it was action-packed enough. And I thought about it, and I enjoyed the variant covers, and I hate variant covers, but I haven't picked up some of them here, and I liked it enough and talked about it enough that it made number 6. All right, coming in at number 5, Detective Comics by Ram V. The reason why Detective Comics is so high up on this list is because I ran the gamut of emotions in 2023 on this series. The backups to this series, which were written by Dan Waters, many of them by Dan Waters, I think a couple by Cy Spurrier. Many of them I found frustrating. Some I even found impenetrable for me. But yet, somehow, I would read the main story by Ram V I would read the main story by Ram V multiple times to get into it, and I really enjoy the story of the Orgum family and its machinations in Gotham, with the idea of the Thelmus engine, the reality machine, the idea that the subway system and the tunnels underneath Gotham City form ultimately what might look like neural pathways that the reality machine can come and take and help control the troglodyte masses of Gotham City, and with the goal of hanging Batman as a symbol to destroy the symbol of independence and to strip the citizens of Gotham of their individuality, and to really have the collective consciousness of Gotham be controlled by the Orgum Queen and the machinations of the Orgum Queen over her own son, Prince Orgum. Very fascinating, very well done, and particularly at the end here, where Batman is sort of incapacitated such that they want to hang him, and then who comes on the scene? We got the return of Azrael Batman, Catwoman coming to help rescue Batman, Commissioner Gordon, Cassandra Cain, Oracle, the team that you need to get Batman back on the path of righteousness and his zeal to protect Gotham. Meanwhile, of course, in the background, you've got Barbados, and even a deal or a bargain that Batman makes with Barbados to help perpetuate his life in the face of the of overwhelming odds in confronting the Orgum family. This is an absolutely excellent series. This is an epic journey, though. This is not something where you want to just dive into, or you want to start reading this from the beginning. You might want to pick it up as a trade, read all of Ram V's run. It's I'm not going to tell you that it's all easy. It's going to challenge you a little bit, but if you stick with it, you will be rewarded enough that it might even make the list here. I just realized that I've got, there we go. I should say top 25, because this was top 25, wasn't it? Okay, coming in at number 4, Batman and the Joker, Deadly Duo. Mark Silvestri and Eric Prianto on the colors. This is a series that apparently Mark Silvestri had in his tank for I guess a couple of decades, and they finally put it to print. This was reminiscent of Batman very much in the early 90s, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't a complicated storyline, but it had a horror element to it. And the Joker was part of that horror, and so was a lead character, another villain as well, which really played into it, and including Harley Quinn. And I love this iteration of Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn, if you ever want, I've always said Harley Quinn is meant to be a villain. That's who Harley Quinn is in her essence. She's unfortunately become a fairly uninteresting character to me. One about as uninteresting as Wonder Woman is, and about as uninteresting as Poison Ivy's becoming, because that's the problem, was that if you introduce a character that is part of the popular pop culture zeitgeist, you can't leave them to be, they can't be villains anymore, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it was villainy and psychopathy that brought Harley Quinn to the prom, and now she's dumped that, and now we're supposed to believe she's a hero in this nonsense that's going on in her own series. You'll note that I never put Harley Quinn on my most disappointing of 2023. The reason why is that it doesn't even deserve to be. It's the worst. It's probably one of my, if I had the top 3 worst, Harley Quinn is like really bad. It's I don't even know what DC thinks of Harley Quinn. But how did I get talking about Harley Quinn? Let's talk about Mark Silvestri's Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo. This is a fantastic. The art's fantastic. The story is compelling. It pulls you in. It's a little bit maybe dated in that the story deals with sort of like a cure for a cancer, I think, and a cure for cancer that goes awry and ends up creating undead creatures and undead Jokers that end up attacking Batman and the Joker, forcing Batman and the Joker to team up against the lead villain. I forget her name, but in any event, it's just a fun story. I think it's 6 or 7 issues long, but very well done, and definitely something. It might even be out in hardcover already, but it even came out with a black and white special. It's a black and white issue for issue 1. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think it was a black and white foil edition. It was beautiful. I had to pick it up, so definitely I had to put it on the list here. All right, number 3, The Vigil. Ram V. The Vigil is the most refreshingly unique superhero team to come out in a while for DC, and I just love the makeup of the team. I love the origin of the team. I like that Ram V is actually utilizing the the entire world. Like, it's nice to see some heroes from India. There's some interesting characters from the country of India. It's a huge country. Everybody talks about China and America. What about India? Well, Ram V said, "Hold my beer," or whatever the equivalent of beer is in India. I don't know, but this was just a great series. 6 issues long. The first arc, 6 issues long. The Vigil is a team that was literally created in the mind of Doctor. I think it's Sagarin is his name. In any event, he was the team itself is literally created with the imagination of one of the characters that, through his interaction with 2 other characters, the origin, they were all in this other realm, this other universe, where in this other dimension, their thoughts became reality, and whatever they could imagine and create became reality. And one of the guys, of course, imagined some very bad and terrible things. And of course, the good guy, i.e. the leader of the Vigil team, created the Vigil team literally in his mind. And ultimately, that's the big reveal. But getting there, and what you think the Vigil is originally for, and what their plan is to actually do, and how they end up getting there, and particularly one character called I'm forgetting his name, but he's a psychopath, but he's a genius, and everything's a game to him. And even though he doesn't frankly care much about anything, he loves the game. And one of the reasons why he's on the Vigil's team is because the leader of the team didn't want him to be on any other team, because you don't want this guy against you. I think his name is, I was going to say Dodge, but it's not Dodge. In any event, it's unimportant. Pick up the Vigil. You know what I'm talking about. All right. Final 2. All right. GCPD, The Blue Wall. Now, this was a series written by John Ridley with art by Stefano Raphael. This is, when Jason and I review comics every week, almost every month where we reviewed an issue of JCPD, of this, or the one that's on our number 1, but that I ranked number 1, this was often the pick of the week, or in the running in the money for pick of the week. This was absolutely incredible. This was a genuine successor in my mind, both in spirit and in actual quality and in art, to the Gotham Central series by Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker. John Ridley, man, just an absolutely fabulous job. In this, the centerpiece of this series is Renee Montoya. She knows what it's like to deal with racism and discrimination as part of the Gotham PD. She grew up with it. She, of course, came out in that famous Half a Life storyline by Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker. She knows how to deal with discrimination, but she also sucked it up and she dealt with it. And being in a police Gotham PD might be a boys' club, but she made it all the more difficult for her. But she's become police commissioner, and the series focuses on a series of characters, rookie cops, who are trying to fit in and make a life and trying to become good cops in their own right, but the struggles that they face. And in particular, one of the cops is Hispanic, and he's discriminated against because of his race, and that drives him, unfortunately, to do some very terrible things. Meanwhile, Renee Montoya experiences a tragic loss. While she's still overcoming her alcoholism, she experiences the tragic loss, the loss of her brother, who you get to know. You get to know her brother and his fiance, and they end up getting tragically killed. And meanwhile, she's struggling with her alcoholism and also trying to maybe find a new relationship herself. And all of this comes into play in this series, and my God, it ends in such a thought-provoking manner, and it really makes you think. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just one of those things that if you want to give somebody a fantastic story, give them this series of trades. It's excellent. All right, coming in at number 1. Should we have another drum roll? All right, number 1, Gotham City Year One, Tom King. This one consistently was a pick of the week, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you'd have told me back in the day when Tom King was writing Batman that there would ever come a day that I would consistently consider this one of the best writers that DC has, I would have told you you're crazy. But he is. There's a reason why he keeps getting work, and it's because he's simply one of the best writers that they have, and he proves it time in and time out. And in this series, Tom King even said that he loved writing this series, and it shows. This is the origin of Gotham City, and it stars a Slam Bradley, and it also stars Batman, but it stars a 90-year-old Slam Bradley looking back at Gotham in the 1960s, when he was younger and dealing with some, I guess you could say some, not descendants, but some. The great grandfather of Thomas and Martha Wayne, or grandfather of Thomas and Martha Wayne, and a Wayne kidnapping. It plays a little bit with the Lindbergh kidnapping, but he adds his own flair to it. And along the way, we learn things about the origins of various places in Gotham City, particularly Crime Alley, and what the origins of Crime Alley were. And those are just things in the background, because the actual story itself is a murder mystery. It's compelling. It's visceral. Phil Hester does an amazing job on the art, particularly in numerous battle scenes. I say battle scenes. It's like fight scenes where Slam Bradley is either kicking ass or getting his ass kicked by other corrupt police cops, as Gotham is sort of coming into its own. And that is very well done, particularly how Crime Alley came into being, how ultimately it's the actions of Slam Bradley at the end of the series to try to bring some justice to those that did wrong throughout the series, how the actions that Slam Bradley took had a direct impact on the origins of Gotham City moving forward, and in particular on the origin of a certain hero we call Batman. Very well done. Brilliant is the perfect word for it. Just absolutely a tour de force. Very, very well done. And so those are my top 25. I apologize to those watching. It did say top 20 for a while there up there. I forgot to change it. I had to add 5 there because I couldn't leave them out. So in any event, guys, those are my top 25. Feel free to enlighten me what your top 10 were, or top 20, 20, whatever it is. I don't care. Let me know. I know as a fact that there are going to be many that might disagree with some of the things on this list. That's all well and good. I thought DC had a pretty damn good year overall, and I'm looking forward to 2024. And yeah, until next time, guys, Comic Boom out.